Let me ask you, as someone who's competed at the elite level, in your experience, is there a difference between women and men?
Of course. I think we learned this at a very young age, watching even 12 and unders play. Going through puberty causes irreversible advantage, that no matter the training, no matter the diet, no matter any alterable change you can make, will overcome that male advantage. Especially in sports like swimming, where lung capacity matters so much. Even something as silly as throat size, men have on average a 40% larger throat, which sounds like it's nothing, but when you're grasping for air, that 40% larger throat makes a huge difference in athletic success, not to mention height. You guys know the differences.
Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women,
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
I mean, what I can say is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition happened,
I'm going to try again.
the rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes/no question. Do you believe there's a difference?
Oh, I think that we're talking about this case with the NCAA.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? Most people could answer this very simply. I'm curious if you're willing to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just putting it into the context of the conversation that we're having. I think that there are definitions related to sex.
Is that a yes? So I'm trying to get a yes or no. I'm not trying to get a speech. Is there a difference between women and men?
I think that there are definitions for biological sex.
Okay, so you're not answering that. Let me ask you this question then. Why do women's sports exist? If you can't define a difference between women and men, why not abolish women's sports and just tell little girls to swim with little boys and see who wins?
Oh, I'm simply saying that that sex is
My
different
question,
than gender.
Why
and I do believe
why
that
do
women's sports have a great
exist?
value. I mean, Senator, I'll tell you right now.
Ms. Robinson, please answer the question I'm asking you.
Absolutely.
Why do women's sports exist?
I think that there are so many positive benefits to sports.
But
I mean,
why have a
we've talked
separate
about it here
category for
today.
women? If there's no difference between women and men, why to have women's sports?
I'm saying that there's a difference between sex and gender, and that the NCAA has rules in place, which they have for the last decade.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to enter into the record an article from Duke Law called Comparing Athletic Performances for the Best Elite Women to Boys and Men. And it goes through examining in 2017 the top records for women in the world in various track and field events. So, for example, in the 100-meter, the top record for women in the world was 10.71 seconds. Now, that record for the number one woman in the world in 2017 was, in the year 2017, broken by 124 boys under 18. In that same year, the record for the number one competing woman in the 100-meter dash in the world was broken by a total of 2,474 men. If the radical Democrat agenda to destroy girls' sports and women's sports succeeds, little girls will not have a chance to compete. So I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record.
What a crazy world that we're living in, that this is even a question. Is there a difference between women and men, between boys and girls? And this woman, this activist, that's all she is. This is an activist. This isn't an expert. This is not someone you should listen to. This is an activist with an agenda that is demanding we accept, not that we accept, that we reject biological truths. And Riley Gaines does a fantastic job of pointing some of these out. She is a award-winning, championship-winning athlete who is saying there is a biological advantage to men. You shouldn't even have to explain that. This used to be common sense. Just a few years ago, this was common sense. And now, the most absurd argument I heard from a trans activist recently, a trans activist said that, well, you know, if the issue is that after puberty, there is a biological advantage, then the answer is we need to make sure that we find trans kids before they go to puberty, before they hit puberty, and put them on puberty blockers to make sure puberty doesn't happen. That was their answer. That is seriously their answer. They think that these young children who are still wiping their boogers on the wall, if they feel like a boy or they feel like a girl, we should give them hormone replacement therapy. We should stop puberty, despite other countries saying otherwise. I believe it was Sweden who just banned gender-affirming care on minors after a 14-year-old girl had osteoporosis and spinal fractures from hormone replacement therapy, from puberty blockers. And they ruled that the benefits, the risks, far outweigh the benefits for gender-affirming care on minors. They want to destroy masculinity and femininity. They want to destroy our identity. Our only identity should be our careers. And being slaves to the system, slaves to the government. And we'll be one happy, homogenous blob. We will all own nothing and be happy. What an absolute clown show. That this is what takes up our time. When people can't feed their families, they can't pay rent. And we are talking about whether or not there's a difference between men and women. Give me a break. Give me a break. These people should be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed.